Assalamu alaikum students. I hope you are doing well. This is lecture 29 on social psychology. Today we'll be talking about interpersonal attraction, and this is the same topic that we discussed in the previous lecture. So let's first review the previous lecture. Previously we discussed reasons for affiliation as far as interpersonal attraction is concerned. और हमने उसमें दो डायमेंशंस का जिक्र किया था. पहला था social comparison theory and the other was social exchange theory. As far as social comparison theory is concerned, this theory proposes that people want to evaluate themselves and that is why they need people for social comparisons. और उसके लिए हम ज़्यादातर उन्हीं लोगों को तलाश करते हैं जो हमारे जैसे होते हैं. So we want to compare us with other people who are similar to us. And this need of comparison increases in the time of uncertainty. उस वक्त उसकी ज़्यादा ज़रूरत महसूस होती है when we want some reassurance about some of our qualities. So first thing that I said that the need for comparison is that because we want to evaluate ourselves. Apart from that, we want to know our place in the social environment. The second theory states that we need other people for exchange of some benefit, for exchange of affection, for exchange of some responsibility and so on. ये इकोनॉमिक्स की थ्योरी की तरह है. इसमें हम रिवॉर्ड और कॉस्ट का एनालिसिस करते हैं एंड इफ देयर इज अ रिलेशनशिप वेयर यू हैव टू पे मोर cost and you do not get in exchange much reward for that, so there will be a chance that that relationship may not be maintained. But research has indicated that apart from reward and cost, there is something else also. And what is that something? Apart from reward and cost analysis, it also depends whether we stay in a relationship that if we have been provided with some alternative or not. And that is the reason of many dissatisfying and damaging kind of relationships. People stay in damaging relationships if they do not have availability of alternatives. और उस सिलसिले में फिर उनको ये बेहतर लगता है कि कुछ ना कुछ रिवॉर्ड जो है वो मिलता रहे rather than having none. And then we also talked about factors which could influence our affiliation desires. हमारी affiliation desires को कौन-कौन से factors जो हैं वो मुतासर कर सकते हैं. So first of all, we discussed evolutionary theory. So maybe that we have our evolutionary heritage that we want people around us. And then we also discussed that 3/4 of the time we spend with other people. क्योंकि हमारी ये affiliation की need है, we want to spend our time with other people. एक पिछले lecture में आपको याद होगा हमने ये भी discuss किया था कि human beings are basically group-bound species. They require people around them. Or this is our evolutionary heritage and we provided evidence for this kind of theory by a number of researches that I quoted. One of them was that the Center for Psychological Pain as well as affective distress that we experience as a result of physical pain, they are neurologically similar because they originate in anterior cingulate of frontal lobe of brain. And that is why maybe this is the part of the brain that is the social isolation जब हमें पैदा होती है उसके सिलसिले में जब alarm, we feel alarmed by that condition, maybe that was also developed during the process of evolution. And then we talked about differences between introvert and extrovert as far as their CNS activity is concerned. And we found out through research that introvert people have higher arousability in their CNS. Perhaps that is why they need lesser interaction with people as compared to extroverts. And then we also talked about some centers in the brain which are related with emotions, especially positive affect. And we found out since positive affect is the primary condition for extroversion, maybe people who are extrovert and introvert, they are different in their CNS and brain activity also. And then we also talked about the impact of gender and culture on the need of affiliation and on the affiliation desires. As far as culture is concerned, we found out that individualistic cultures are more in need of establishing human relationships. The reason is they have to establish these relationships themselves because they do not belong to usually extended family systems. Or as compared to that, collectivistic cultures, they may not have that much need of individual interaction and social interaction. ऐसा नहीं है कि collectivistic cultures में ये need है ही नहीं, but as compared to individualistic cultures, this need has been reported less. And then we talked about gender differences in affiliation desires. Since women have been reported to be more like those kind of people which require more interaction with people, they understand people more, they have greater empathy and understanding for other people, and that is why they are considered relational people. Or relational people होने की वजह से ही they have a greater need for social affiliation and greater desire for that. और इसीलिए हमने ये भी एक बात डिस्कस की थी कि maybe this is the reason they remember anniversaries and birthdays dates more often as compared to men. And then finally we discussed the characteristics of the situation that could be involved in interpersonal attraction. And we discussed three kinds of element. First was proximity. Proximity indicates the distance between people who could be attracted to each other. So the more near they are, there is a chance that they will be attracted to each other. And there are several reasons for this connection. One of them is availability, and the second is that we save our energy, time when we meet with people who are living nearby. और इसके अलावा ये भी बात है कि it is decreasing cognitive dissonance when we have a favorable attitude toward those people जो हमारे नज़दीक रहते हैं. And then we talked about familiarity. The more exposed you are toward something or someone, there is a chance that you will develop positive attitude toward that particular object or person. और इससे इसकी वजाहत हमने mere exposure hypothesis के तहत भी की और बहुत सी researches का जिक्र किया, which indicate that familiarity and exposure is related with liking of someone or something. And then finally we discussed the role of anxiety in affiliation desires. कि affiliation desires क्या उस वक्त ज़्यादा होती हैं when people are anxious? And the answer was yes. And we talked about 3 experiments that were conducted by Shaster. And these all experiments showed that people want to be with other people when the situation is threatening and when the situation is anxiety provoking, and they want to talk with people who are having similar experiences and who have gone through similar experiences. And we also found out that it is not talking which is important, बल्कि talking के अलावा it is also important that we are with other people who have gone through similar experiences so that we are aware of their emotional reactions and then we could compare them with us, with our emotional reactions. Or maybe this could be related with social comparison theory because we need people presence to compare ourselves with them. So this was all about previous lecture. Today we will be talking about other dimensions of interpersonal attraction. As we just reviewed, we talk about situational variables as far as interpersonal attraction is concerned. Now I'll be talking about characteristics of others and attraction. लोगों में क्या खासियत होती है जो हमें उनकी तरफ attract करती है? So first of all, I would like to discuss physical attractiveness, क्योंकि शायद ये सबसे बड़ा element है जो कि attraction में एक major role जो है वो play करता है. पिछले लेक्चर में मैंने आपको एक पोएट लूसी की मिसाल दी थी, एंड इन दैट एग्जाम्पल यू सॉ दैट हाउ मच फिजिकल अट्रैक्टिवनेस वाज रिलेटेड टू हर प्रॉब्लम्स, क्योंकि उसके जो डिसफिगर्ड फेस था, बिकॉज ऑफ दैट शी वाज रिजेक्टेड बाय अदर स्टूडेंट्स. सो फिजिकल अट्रैक्टिवनेस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट as far as interpersonal attraction is concerned. Despite these proverbs and old sayings that beauty is skin deep and you can't judge a book by its cover, ये बड़ी देर से लोग सुनते आ रहे हैं, उसके बावजूद this is the fact that physical attractiveness plays a dominant role, maybe you could say the most dominant role as far as attraction is concerned. And that is why Aristotle said 2000 years ago that we tend to operate, perhaps due to this attractiveness feature, we tend to operate, as Aristotle said 2000 years ago, that personal beauty is a greater recommendation than any letter of introduction. हमें personal beauty जो है एक reference letter के तौर पर काम करती है. Wherever beautiful people go, they are appreciated, they are welcomed, और उनके साथ लोग ज़्यादा कांटेक्ट रखने की कोशिश करते हैं. And maybe you would have remembered one theory which is in the same direction. What was that? That was implicit personality theory. ये person perception में इसका जिक्र काफ़ी आया था कि एक अच्छी खासियत की बिना पर आप समझते हैं कि the person would have other positive traits as well. So the traits go together. अगर a person exhibits one good trait, that person would have other positive traits as well. Or there are some cardinal traits like warmth and coldness in someone's behavior and personality, which are considered very important. और warmth के साथ आपने देखा था कुछ experiment भी हमने narrate किए थे कि warmth के बारे में पता चल जाए तो then you automatically think that the person would exhibit other positive qualities also. And this is maybe more true as far as physical attractiveness is concerned. If a person is attractive, all the other positive traits are automatically considered to be associated with that particular person. So there is considerable amount of research that has been conducted on physical attractiveness stereotype. Karen Burchett and Elaine Hartfried conducted one study in 1972. They asked college students to evaluate personalities of people, and these people were both men and women. And these photos were of the personalities which were good looking, average or homely. And remember, they were evaluated from the pictures. So the results indicated that the physical attractive persons were assumed to possess a host of socially desirable personality traits. Because the participants were asked कि ये जो pictures हैं आप इनको देखें और उसके बाद ये बताएं कि इनमें कौन कौन से personality traits होंगे. So the more attractive a person was, the more likely he was to have other positive personality traits. Another study was conducted by Stephen Smith et al. In 1999, and in that study they asked to evaluate the main characters from 100 most popular Hollywood movies between 1940 and 1990. तो उसमें उन्होंने ये कहा कि आपने लोगों को कहा कि आपने 100 फिल्म्स देखनी है between 1940 और 1990 के दरमियान जो फिल्में बनी हैं, और उसमें से जो मेन करेक्टर्स हैं उनके बारे में you have to evaluate their personalities. So the results were in the same direction as I have indicated in the other study before, that beautiful and handsome characters were significantly more likely to be portrayed as virtuous, romantically active and successful than their less attractive counterparts. And this is very much true if we try to look at this phenomena in our personal life. मुझे याद है कि एक एक्टर है जो फिल्मों में हमेशा उसको नेगेटिव रोल दिया जाता है जिसमें उसका कोई कसूर नहीं और बल्कि उसकी खूबी है कि वो नेगेटिव रोल को बहुत शानदार तरीके से करता है, इसीलिए उसकी परफॉर्मेंस की बुनियाद पर उसको नेगेटिव रोल दिया जाता है. एंड आई हैव हर्ड माई मदर सेइंग मैनी टाइम्स कि ये बंदा जो है ये कभी दुरुस्त नहीं हो सकता, ये जो है ये तो बहुत ही बुरा आदमी है, ये शक्ल से ही पता चलता है. सो हाउ द फेस ऑफ अ पर्सन वुड टेल दैट ही इज नॉट अ गुड पर्सन. Now I would describe a few more researches that have been conducted on the same issue. Two separate meta-analyses reveal that physically attractive people are perceived to be more sociable, successful, happy, dominant, sexually warm, mentally healthy, intelligent, and socially skilled than those who are unattractive. And these studies were conducted by Eagle et al. In 1991 and Feingold in 1992. So several kinds of studies have actually been conducted on the same issue and they have reported the same findings or at least similar findings. इनमें से दो studies जो हैं उनकी findings को मैंने यहाँ mention किया है. So physical attractiveness stereotype also occurs in collectivistic cultures, but its content is a bit different. This is another finding. So people have compared collectivistic and individualistic cultures and they wanted to know whether attractiveness is more related with physical, attractiveness is more related with positive traits in one culture or another. And they found this is prevalent in both cultures. बल्कि बहुत सारे मुल्कों में जो researches हुई हैं, they showed this is true everywhere, that people who have more attractive features, physical features, they have found to be more successful, more intelligent, confident, industrious and so on. सारे किस्म के positive traits जो हैं उनकी personalities के साथ attach कर दिए जाते हैं just on the basis of physical and facial attractiveness. लेकिन they have found one difference in individualistic and collectivistic cultures कि थोड़ी सी जो है वो liking का म्यार जो है वो बदल जाता है, because some features are more appreciated in collectivistic cultures while others are viewed more favorably as far as the other culture is concerned. And this stereotype of attraction on the basis of physical characteristics does not only apply to adults, this is true for children as well. And studies have shown that attractive infants are also perceived by adults as more likable, sociable, competent and easy to care for than unattractive babies. Number of studies have shown that, but I have mentioned here one study that was conducted by Casey and Ritter in 1996. And you can see that there is so much power of beauty. And that is why perhaps there is an Arab proverb that beauty is power. और आपने ये देखा कि it is applied everywhere. It applies to adults, it applies to children, to infants, and it is found in every kind of culture in different countries also. Studies have been also conducted to see whether physical attractiveness is related with job prospects also, and studies have investigated different aspects of job, varying aspects of job. For example, starting of a job, hiring policy, and whether hiring is related with attractiveness or not. And then they wanted to see whether promotion is related with attractiveness or not, and what is the relationship of salary one gets. Is it also related to physical attractiveness or not? One study which was conducted by Irene Fraze and her co-workers in 1991, they obtained information on the career success of more than 700 former MBA graduates of the 1973 to 1982 classes at the University of Pittsburgh. तो उन्होंने जो information ली कि ये जो current MBA जो graduates हैं University of Pittsburgh के जहाँ जहाँ वो काम कर रहे हैं उनका data collect किया. So 700 people's data they collected, and then they took pictures of their last year at their graduation during MBA. तो उस year की उन्होंने attractiveness की जो या अनअट्रैक्टिवनेस की, यानी जो भी उनकी पिक्चर्स थी वो कलेक्ट कर ली. और वो ये देखना चाहते थे कि जो लोग अट्रैक्टिव हैं और जो लोग रिलेटिवली अनअट्रैक्टिव हैं. मैं रिलेटिवली इसलिए कह रही हूँ कि परहैप्स आई बिलीव दैट नोबॉडी इज अनअट्रैक्टिव बिकॉज अट्रैक्शन लाइज इन सो मेनी थिंग्स. Attraction should not be restricted to physical element of a person. Attraction is based on how a person talks. Attraction is based on how a person walks, how a person communicates to other people, and how understanding a person is, how well he can communicate with other people, how well he can understand the sufferings of other people. So attraction of a person should be related with several dimensions. So इसलिए मैं कह रही हूँ कि relatively unattractive और attractive जो था उन्होंने गेस किया उन पिक्चर से. एंड दे वांटेड टू सी कि अब इस वक्त वो लोग जो हैं वो कितना कमा रहे हैं, उनकी सैलरी क्या है, उनकी पोजीशन क्या है. सो दे फाउंड आउट दैट अबाउट 2200 डिफरेंस इन डॉलर की बात कर रहे हैं, $2200 डिफरेंस बिटवीन द स्टार्टिंग सैलरीज ऑफ गुड लुकिंग मैन एंड दोज विद बिलो एवरेज फेसेस. गुड लुकिंग मैन जो थे वो स्टार्ट ही उन्होंने ऑन एवरेज ईयरली बेसिस पर उनकी $2200 सैलरी ज़्यादा थी. फॉर वुमेन ऑल्दो फेशियल अट्रैक्टिवनेस डिड नॉट इन्फ्लुएंस देयर स्टार्टिंग सैलरीज. स्टार्टिंग सैलरी पे वुमेन में फ़र्क नहीं है, बट इट डिड सब्सटेंशियली इम्पैक्ट देयर लेटर सैलरीज. एंड गुड लुकिंग वुमेन वर टिपिकली अर्निंग $4200 मोर पर ईयर एज कम्पेयर टू एवरेज लुकिंग वुमेन आर लेस अट्रैक्टिव वुमेन. तो once they started a job, because starting salary के साथ link नहीं है attractiveness का, once they started a job, then their promotion would be affected by how attractive they are. And then as far as men were concerned, it was seen that attractive men were later earning $5,200 per year more as compared to less attractive men. और ये भी देखा गया कि obesity का क्या ताल्लुक है आपकी पे के साथ. As far as men were concerned, there was a difference that was found that being 20% or more overweight reduced a man's starting salary by more than $2,000 on average. तो ये हमने देखा कि किस तरह से जॉब की हायरिंग, स्टार्टिंग सैलरी, उसकी प्रमोशन और उसकी जो ईयरली इनकम है लेटर ऑन, दे ऑल विल बी प्रेडिक्टेड by a single dimension. And what is that? That is physical attractiveness. Now I would like to expand further on obesity and attractiveness, because obesity को attractiveness के साथ काफ़ी study किया गया है, and several studies have found that there is a negative correlation between obesity and attractiveness, because you are more obese the less attractive you are to both sexes. And people who are obese, they are stigmatized and face discrimination in the workplace. They are considered to be lazy, sluggish, dull, unintelligent, and so on. So here we can also see that there is implicit theory prevalent that you do not like one characteristic and you associate other negative characteristics and personality traits with the same person. And the negative view occurs because people are seen as responsible for their weight, while in some cases this may be true, that people, because of their eating habits, they would be considered responsible for their weight, but then there is a genetic factor also. And some people would have other problems due to which their weight increases, medical reasons also. So we cannot consider always that the obese person is responsible for his or her weight, but people think कि कसूर इसका है. तो यहाँ पर आपको एक attribution याद आ रही है? That is, when we are in the state of actor-observer bias. You remember actor-observer bias ke when you are observing other people, so then you are attributing more about internal causes. आप कहते हैं कि वजह जो है वो अंदरूनी है. That person is responsible for that particular problem. So you attribute other people's behavior by having, looking at the internal explanations rather than external explanations कि ये भी हो सकता है कि उसको कोई problem हो, कोई और factor involve हो. And Crandall et al. Showed in 2001 that anti-fat prejudice is strongest in individualistic cultures. What do you think will be the reason for this prejudice being more prevalent in individualistic cultures? The reason is that in individualistic cultures, slimness is associated especially with beauty. ये तो अब collectivistic cultures में भी due to globalization and media effect, this is a very widely prevalent attitude toward obesity and slimness. कि people think that attractiveness is slim. तो जो slimness है, that is attractiveness. लेकिन ये अभी भी individualistic countries में it is found in greater extent because of the media policies, और जो भी आप मीडिया में देखते हैं कि very thin females are usually booked in nearly all kind of advertisements जहाँ उनका लिंक भी इतना नहीं होता उनके स्लिमनेस का, वहाँ पे भी उन्हीं को बुक किया जाता है. The next question is that we are talking about physical attractiveness. What is attractive? Physical attractiveness है क्या? One thing is that although there are some standards of beauty which are prevalent in all kind of cultures, लेकिन ये भी आपने देखा होगा कि मुख्तलिफ कल्चर्स में ब्यूटी का मेयार डिफरेंट होता है. एक कम्युनिटी जहाँ पर एफ्रो कैरिबियन पीपल आर लिविंग, देयर इज़ अ डिफरेंट स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ ब्यूटी, और इस तरह पाकिस्तान में थोड़ा डिफरेंट होगा. मे बी कि हम बहुत ज़्यादा, बास लोग कहते हैं कि बहुत ज़्यादा गोरा रंग जो है वो भी नहीं अच्छा लगता, और इन सम कल्चर्स इट विल बी अप्रिशिएटेड मोर, एंड इन सम अदर कंट्रीज ब्लैक कलर विल बी अप्रिशिएटेड मोर. बट ओवरऑल, what is attractive? What is attractiveness? One thing is culture plays a large role in standards of attractiveness. However, people do tend to agree on some features that are seen as more attractive. जो ज़्यादातर जो चीज़ कही जाती है वो ये है कि statistically average faces are appreciated. Average से मुराद ये है, आपने वो normal distribution जो है वो इसका कर्व इस तरह से होता है कि ऑन द राइट साइड एक एक्सट्रीम होती है, ऑन द नेगेटिव साइड देयर इज अनदर एक्सट्रीम. तो ऐसे फीचर्स जो हैं विच आर ऑन द एक्सट्रीम, जैसे कि विच आर डिफरेंट फ्रॉम एवरेज फेस बिकॉज दे आर नॉट वेरी फेमिलियर टू अस, दैट इज़ वाई दे आर नॉट वेरी मच अप्रिशिएटेड. अब यहाँ पे भी आप फेमिलियरिटी का आंसर देखें, बिकॉज वी हैव बीन exposed much less to them. That is why they are not attractive. And we more often see average faces. Average faces से मेरी मुराद ये नहीं है कि average attractive, इससे मुराद ये है कि जो normally एक human being का किसी भी culture में चेहरा होता है, features उससे बहुत ज़्यादा different ना हों. बहुत ज़्यादा लंबी नाक, बहुत छोटी नाक, बहुत ज़्यादा चौड़ा मुंह, बहुत ज़्यादा भरा हुआ मुंह, बहुत ज़्यादा पतला मुंह, ये उसकी बजाय एक average face is more appreciated. And then symmetrical or balanced faces, ये भी उसी डायमेंशन में है कि हर चीज़ अपनी जगह पे जो है वो एक दूसरे के साथ बैलेंस है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल बिग आइज एंड जो लॉन्ग आइज हैं दे आर कंसिडर्ड वेरी ब्यूटीफुल, लेकिन अब कितनी बिग हों, दे शुड बी सिमेट्रिकल विद द फेस. ये नहीं है कि बाकी मुंह बहुत पतला और छोटा है और आइज आर दैट बिग. सो बेसिकली ऑन एवरेज सिमेट्रिकल एंड एवरेज kind of faces which are considered average looking faces in a culture are appreciated. The next question is, why does attractiveness matter? क्यों इतना हम इससे अपील होते हैं, क्यों इतने मुतासिर होते हैं? So there are a few reasons for that. People believe that attractiveness is correlated with other positive characteristics, and here I would again mention implicit personality theory for physical attractiveness, that you think that one trait is associated with others. अगर आपकी शक्ल खूबसूरत है, you would have other positive dimensions as well. और इसके ही opposite, अगर शक्ल खूबसूरत नहीं है, तो maybe you are not possessing other positive traits as well. Then being associated with an attractive other leads a person to be seen as more attractive him or herself. अगर आपको कोई बहुत अट्रैक्टिव फ्रेंड है आपका या आपकी, तो आमतौर पे ये समझा जाता है कि वो फलां जो है वो इसका दोस्त है. और जब आप किसी के साथ घूमते हैं, इफ़ यू हैव एन अट्रैक्टिव पर्सन बिसाइड यू, तो पीपल परहैप्स लुक एट यू एडमायरिंगली मोर, अप्रिशिएट यू मोर. सो इट इज़ जनरली अप्रिशिएटेड अगर हमारा लिंक जो है वो अट्रैक्टिव लोगों के साथ हो. एंड देन finally, according to evolutionary theory, attractiveness may provide a clue to health and reproductive fitness, especially as far as females are concerned, कि they need to be looked as reproductive. तो जो reproduction है, यानी they are able to reproduce, they are able to produce children, give birth to children, and they are healthy to do that. और खूबसूरती जो है वो आम तौर पर is considered an indicator of health. लेकिन समटाइम ज़रूरी नहीं होता, बाज़ लोगों का चेहरा बहुत फ्रेश होता है and they are very sick from inside, उनको कोई ना कोई प्रॉब्लम भी हेल्थ में होती है. बट जनरली इट इज़ कंसिडर्ड दैट अ ब्यूटीफुल पर्सन अपेरेंटली जो ठीक ठाक लग रहा है, ही और शी इज़ हेल्दी, फिजिकली हेल्दी. नाउ द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज़ कि इज़ दिस स्टीरियोटाइप करेक्ट, कि क्या जो खूबसूरत लोग होते हैं उनमें हो भी तो सकता है कि सारे पॉजिटिव ट्रेट्स पाए जाते हों. So some research has concentrated on this question. Alan Feingold in 1992 conducted a meta-analysis of more than 90 studies that investigated whether physically attractive and physically unattractive people actually differed in their basic personality traits. तो ये देखना चाहते थे कि जो unattractive और attractive लोग हैं उनको देखा जाए कि हो सकता है कि उनको बाकी कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स में वाकई वो डिफरेंट हों और फिजिकली अट्रैक्टिव वुड पोजेस मोर पॉजिटिव ट्रेट्स. सो दिस एनालिसिस इंडिकेटेड नो सिग्निफिकेंट रिलेशनशिप्स बिटवीन फिजिकल अट्रैक्टिवनेस एंड सच ट्रेट्स एज इंटेलिजेंस, डोमिनेंस, सेल्फ इस्टीम एंड मेंटल हेल्थ. जबकि आपने बाकी स्टडीज़ में देखा कि अकॉर्डिंग टू द परसेप्शन ऑफ पीपल, अट्रैक्टिव पीपल आर हायर इन दीज काइंड ऑफ ट्रेट्स. लेकिन अगर आप रियल लाइफ फिनोमेना देखें तो these people were not actually higher than average or below average looking people. तो इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि this is just a stereotype and you should keep in your mind while you are looking at attractive और जो पिछले lectures की बात है baby faces, that you should look at the attractiveness of a person as this only one dimension. आप इसको उसी तक महदूद रखें. And you try to understand about the personality of the person by looking at other traits. और आप फ़ौरन ही जो है वो एक अंदाज़ा कायम ना करें किसी शख्स के बारे में on the basis of physical traits, बल्कि कोशिश करें कि उस शख्स को जान लें पहले, उसके बारे में अंदाज़ा लगाने से पहले, because in that way we commit many mistakes in person perception, और हम लोगों के बारे में ज़्यादती कर जाते हैं इस तरीके से. So that was physical attractiveness as far as people's variables, other variables are concerned in relation to interpersonal attraction. The other factor is similarity. वो आपने एक saying सुनी होगी, birds of a feather really do flock together, यानी जो एक तरह के लोग होते हैं उनका बड़ा अच्छा गुजारा होता है. Research has concentrated on different kinds of similarities between people. One of them is demographic similarity. डेमोग्राफिक होती है आप कहाँ रहते हैं, कितनी तालीम हासिल की हुई है, आपका जेंडर कितना है, आपका सोशल क्लास क्या है, तो आपके बारे में जो इस तरह की मालूमात हैं, दे आर कॉल्ड डेमोग्राफिक वेरिएबल्स. रिसर्च ऑन हाई स्कूल फ्रेंडशिप्स फाउंड दैट स्टूडेंट्स आइडेंटिफाइड देयर बेस्ट फ्रेंड्स एज दोज हु वर सिमिलर टू देम इन सेक्स, रेस, एज एंड ईयर इन स्कूल. आपने कम ही देखा होगा कि लोगों की दोस्ती जो है वो इस तरह से हो कि जो एक 7वीं क्लास का बच्चा है उसका 10वीं क्लास के बच्चे के साथ दोस्ती हो. सो इट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट पीपल आर सिमिलर इन डेमोग्राफिक करेक्टरिस्टिक्स. और ये भी कम ही देखा होगा कि एक बड़ा जो दौलतमंद शख्स है उसकी जो दोस्ती है वो बहुत गरीब शख्स के साथ हो, एक्सेप्ट इन फ्यू सर्कमस्टांसेस, जैसे कि वो बचपन का दोस्त है, वो मोहल्ले में इकट्ठे रहते थे, देन अदर फैक्टर्स कुड बी इम्पॉर्टेंट. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, जो पहले हमने पिछले लेक्चर में स्टडी किया था, प्रॉक्सिमिटी, फेमिलियरिटी एटसेट्रा, दूसरे फैक्टर्स भी इंपॉर्टेंट होते हैं, लेकिन यहाँ मैं उस डायमेंशन में बात कर रही हूँ एज फार एज डेमोग्राफिक करेक्टरिस्टिक्स आर कंसर्न्ड. Newcomb in 1961 confirmed this in a longitudinal study of friendship development in all male boarding house. तो वो एक बोर्डिंग हाउस था जिसमें सारे लड़के रहते थे, और उन्होंने लॉन्गिट्यूडिनल स्टडी की कि जो लोग सिमिलर होते हैं डेमोग्राफिक करेक्टरिस्टिक्स पे, एक तो उनमें दोस्ती पहले होती है और उसके बाद वो कायम भी रहती है. एंड दैट वाज द पर्पस ऑफ लॉन्गिट्यूडिनल स्टडी. जब आप ये देखना चाहते हैं कि जो चीज़ आप मेजर कर रहे हैं उसमें स्टेबिलिटी भी है कि नहीं, वक्त के साथ जो है वो क्या जारी रहती है या ख़त्म हो जाती है. एंड दैट इज़ वाई न्यूकॉम्ब सेड दैट डेमोग्राफिक सिमिलरिटी इज़ अ मैग्नेटिक लाइक पावर, क्योंकि इनिशियली परहैप्स these are the things which are important in establishing connections between people. क्योंकि बाकी चीज़ें बाद में आती हैं. पहले आप जैसे क्लास में दाखिल होते हैं तो क्लास फेलोज आर हैविंग सेम एज ग्रुप, दे आर स्टडिंग द सेम सब्जेक्ट, दे आर मे बी समटाइम जेंडर भी एक होता है. यूजुअली एक जैसे स्कूलों में एक जैसे सोशल क्लास के भी बच्चे बाज़-औक़ात इकट्ठे होते हैं. फिर दे आर हैविंग अदर सिमिलरिटीज़ आल्सो. सो दिस वाज सिमिलरिटी इन demographic characteristics. Other similarity could be in attitudes. Newcomb की जो study थी that also showed that if people are similar in attitudes, then there is a more chance that they will be attracted to each other. So in Newcomb's study, similarity in attitude also provided mutual liking basis for mutual liking. Another study was conducted by Barron and Nelson in 1965, and they asked people to fill a questionnaire about themselves. और उसमें क्या किया उन्होंने, they accelerated the getting acquainted process by having participants complete attitude questionnaires. तो कॉलेज स्टूडेंट्स को कहा कि आपने ये एटीट्यूड क्वेश्चनियर जो है वो फिल करना है, जिसके बारे में ये था कि उनकी एटीट्यूड में मुख्तलिफ एटीट्यूड्स पूछे गए थे कि आप फलां चीज़ के बारे में आपकी क्या राय है. लेटर दे वर इंट्रोड्यूस्ड to another person by having them read his or her response to a similar questionnaire. तो बाद में उनको इंट्रोड्यूस करवाया गया किसी और शख्स के साथ, और वो शख्स जो था उसने उनका जो उन्होंने पहले क्वेश्चनियर्स फिल किए थे वो उसको पढ़ने का मौका भी मिला, सो दैट पीपल वुड नो अबाउट द करेक्टरिस्टिक्स एंड अबाउट द एटीट्यूड ऑफ अदर पर्सन. तो ये वाकफियत गेटिंग एक्वेंटेड सेशन जो था वो कैसे करवाया गया कि एक दूसरे के साथ पहले तो उनको कहा गया कि आप क्वेश्चनियर्स फिल करें अपने मुख्तलिफ एटीट्यूड्स के बारे में, और उसके बाद जो था वो उनको मौका दिया गया मिलने का, लेकिन उससे पहले वो क्वेश्चनियर एक दूसरे का पढ़ सकते थे एंड दे वुड नो दैट व्हाट इज़ द एटीट्यूड ऑफ अदर पर्सन. सो द रिजल्ट्स शोड दैट द प्रोपोर्शन ऑफ सिमिलर एटीट्यूड्स then the actual number of similar attitudes appeared to be more important as far as interpersonal attraction was concerned. तो ज़्यादा इम्पॉर्टेंट ये नहीं था कि आपके कितने एटीट्यूड सिमिलर हैं, ज़्यादा इम्पॉर्टेंट ये था कि आप कितनी ज़्यादा सिमिलरिटी है आपकी एटीट्यूड्स में. एंड इट वाज फाउंड दैट पीपल हु आर हैविंग ग्रेटर सिमिलरिटी इन देयर एटीट्यूड, बिकॉज दे न्यू दैट फ्रॉम रीडिंग ऑफ द अदर पर्सन's एटीट्यूड क्वेश्चनियर, दे रिपोर्टेड मोर अट्रैक्शन टुवर्ड दैट पर्सन. ये ग्राफ देखिए आप, इसमें आपको एक्स एक्सिस पर नज़र आ रहा है प्रोपोर्शन ऑफ सिमिलर एटीट्यूड्स, एंड देन यू कैन सी दिस लाइन ग्राफ विच इज़ वेरी लीनियर. यानी कि आप ये देख रहे हैं कि जब एटीट्यूड की सिमिलैरिटी जो बढ़ती जा रही है तो अट्रैक्शन जो है, दैट इज़ रिपोर्टेड अट्रैक्शन फॉर दैट पर्सन आफ्टर रीडिंग हिज एटीट्यूड प्रोफाइल. तो वो लीनियर एसोसिएशन है कि जो आपकी एटीट्यूड्स की सिमिलैरिटी ज़्यादा फील होती जा रही है आपको, उतनी ही ज़्यादा यू आर फीलिंग अट्रैक्टेड टुवर्ड दैट पर्सन. सो दिस स्टडी शोड that you are more similar to a person's as far as attitudes are concerned, you will be feeling more attraction for that person. So we are talking about similarities, and first we talked about similarity in demographic characteristics, secondly we talked about similarity in attitudes, and thirdly we are coming back to physical attractiveness, so similarity in physical attractiveness. Researchers observing couples in public setting have found that they are remarkably well matched in physical attractiveness, and one of these studies was conducted by Feingold in 1988. कि आपको ऐसे लोग अच्छे लगते हैं who are similar to you in attractiveness also. Perhaps this is because of matching hypothesis, that you think that these people are more matched to you, and on the basis of matching you think that perhaps you will establish satisfying relationships with them. आपने लोगों के कमेंट भी सुने होंगे कि जब कहीं पर कोई कपल देखा जाता है तो कहते हैं ये तो एक दूसरे के साथ बिल्कुल सूट नहीं कर रहे, if one person is attractive and the other is not. तो जनरली जो है people like people to be matched with each other in physical attractiveness also, not only in attitude and demographic characteristics. और आपने देखा होगा कि जब ख़ानदानों में रिश्ते तय पाते हैं तब भी डेमोग्राफिक करेक्टरिस्टिक्स को देखा जाता है कि सोशल क्लास दोनों घरानों की कैसी है, उनका रहन सहन कैसा है, और उसके अलावा एटीट्यूड्स में थोड़ा सा ये भी देखा जाता है कि वो लोग हमारी तरह ही सोचते हैं, उनके रुझानात कैसे हैं, उनका एटीट्यूड टुवर्ड वैल्यूज़ कैसे हैं, और उसके साथ ये भी देखा जाता है कि लड़का और लड़की जो हैं वो कितने ज़्यादा फिजिकली एक दूसरे के साथ मैच करते हैं. सो what is the basis for that? और बेसिस यही है कि if they are matched on physical characteristics, then they will be more attracted toward each other and would have more satisfying relationship. So it may be because we estimate that they have about the same social exchange value as us, कि अगर दोनों शख्स attractive हैं तो हम ये सोचते हैं कि according to the social exchange theory that we studied in the previous lecture, कि दोनों लोगों के पास exchange करने के लिए कुछ ना कुछ है. They will be exchanging physical attractiveness with each other. And this tendency is known as the matching hypothesis, and it appears to be a socially shared belief according to Stiles et al. Studied this phenomena in 1996. Then another important aspect is desirable personal attributes. It is also important that people would have some desirable traits or attributes which would make them more attractive as compared to other people who would not have these attributes. One of them is warmth. Warmth कैसे पता चलती है किसी की? Generally, people appear warm when they have a positive attitude and express liking, praise and approval. Warm वो लगते हैं जो आपके साथ जब मिलते हैं तो they have a warm attitude. Warm attitude कैसे पता चलेगा? They will have a good interaction with you. They will appreciate some of the things that you would say. अगर उनको अच्छी लगी हैं, they show their liking for you, so they are more likable. इससे हमें warmth का पता चलता है. लेकिन इसके अलावा non-verbal behavior is also very important. Non-verbal behavior such as smiling, attentiveness and expressing emotions also contribute to perceptions of warmth. So verbal or non-verbal behavior both are important in having an estimation about the person's warmth. And then another important desirable personal characteristic is competence. We like people who are socially skilled, intelligent and competent. तो ये भी एक लाइकिंग की बेसिस जो है वो ये भी होती है. ऑल्दो हमने ये डिस्कस किया है कि सबसे पहले जो है वो फिजिकल अट्रैक्टिवनेस जो है वो सब पर हावी हो जाती है, लेकिन इसके बावजूद we have found evidence through research that some other personal characteristics like warmth and competence are also admired, and people value them as far as physical, apart from physical characteristics, as far as their social interactions and interpersonal attractions are concerned. And the type of competence that matters most depends on the nature of the relationship. यानी आप कौन सी competence जो है वो आपको चाहिए. हमेशा ये नहीं होता कि in every kind of situation and in every kind of relationship you want the same kind of attributes. Like a wife would not generally require कि वो शख्स जो है वो जो husband है वो he is very competent as far as filing is concerned, तो उसका ताल्लुक उससे नहीं होगा. He could be competent as far as other helping things are concerned, और वो उसकी हेल्प कर देता है, जनरली चीज़ें जो है वो उसके लिए अरेंज कर देता है, बाजार से सौदा सल्फ लाने में कहती है तो बहुत अच्छे हैं, बड़े अच्छे तरीके से मैनेज कर लेते हैं. सिमिलरली जो है वो फ्रेंडशिप में सोशल स्किल्स जो हैं दे आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. आप ये कहते हैं कि कितना शख्स जो है वो अच्छे तरीके से मिलना जानता है. सिमिलरली एक प्रोफेसर के लिए जो है वो नॉलेज इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो द कॉम्पिटेंस वेरीज अक्रॉस रिलेशनशिप्स. लेकिन एक और बात भी है कि व्हेन पीपल आर टू परफेक्ट एज फार एज कॉम्पिटेंस इज कंसर्न, समटाइम दिस इज कंसिडर्ड अ ड्रॉबैक, क्योंकि उससे फिर और प्रॉब्लम्स पैदा हो जाते हैं. द पर्सन मे बिकम वेरी हाई हेडेड और अदर पीपल फाइंड इट डिफिकल्ट टू एडजस्ट विद दैट पर्सन. द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज वेदर सोशल इंटरेक्शन बिकम्स प्रॉब्लमैटिक समटाइम और नॉट. इससे पहले हमने ये देखा कि सोशल इंटरेक्शन और सोशल इंटरेक्शन के नतीजे में जो इंटरपर्सनल अट्रैक्शंस होती हैं, दे आर डिपेंडेंट ऑन पर्सनल फैक्टर्स, दे आर डिपेंडेंट ऑन सिचुएशनल फैक्टर्स. लेकिन सम टाइम ये सोशल इंटरेक्शन जो है वो भी प्रॉब्लमेटिक लगता है. इट इज़ नॉट एसेंशियल दैट एवरीबॉडी इज लुकिंग फॉर सोशल इंटरेक्शन. पीपल सम टाइम अवॉइड social interaction and they find social interaction very problematic if they have fear of rejection. That if they approach somebody they will be rejected, then this social interaction becomes problematic. Or sometimes it happens that we are not afraid of rejection and we think that if we approach somebody then our social overtures will be accepted, lekin even then sometimes we are afraid that later on we may be scrutinized and we may be committing some blunder जिसकी वजह से जो है वो हमें लोग नापसंद करना शुरू कर देंगे. So this is referring to social anxiety. So what is social anxiety? Social anxiety is the unpleasant emotion we experience due to our concern with interpersonal evaluation, and it also causes us to occasionally or frequently avoid social interaction. So some people have very intensified social anxiety and they are scared that they will be evaluated negatively by other people, and that is why they do not approach other people, और उसकी वजह से वो लोगों के साथ mix up नहीं होते. Research has shown by Donnie et al. In 2004 that highly socially anxious people intensely react to rejection cues in their surroundings. तो जो highly anxious होते हैं उनका साइकिल और भी ज़्यादा जो है वो एक ख़ास अंदाज से चलना शुरू हो जाता है, बिकॉज दे आर वेरी सेंसिटिव टू रिजेक्शन क्यूज एज दे कुड बी सीन ऑन अदर पीपल्स फेसेस या उनके बॉडी जेस्चर से. जैसे कि किसी शख्स के चेहरे पे तासुर देखे कि ये देखा, ये पता चल रहा है कि ये मुझे पसंद नहीं करता, और कोई मेरे आने पे कमरे से निकल गया तो दिस जेस्चर शोड दैट दैट पर्सन डिडंट अप्रिशिएट माई कमिंग इन दैट रूम, और वो मुझे देखना नहीं चाहता था. दे आर वेरी apprehensive or sensitive to rejection cues, or maybe sometimes these rejection cues are actually not there. So इसका result क्या होता है? When they are very sensitive to rejection cues, this may result in highly anxious person often acting in ways, different ways से फिर वो act करना शुरू कर देते हैं because they think that they are being rejected. किस तरीके से? Avoiding eye contact, appearing nervous and jittery, and that fulfill actually the self-prophecy, and that was shown by PSY et al. In 1991 कि आप फिर जो दूसरों का रवैया आपकी तरफ होता है आप फिर वैसे ही बन जाते हैं. It seems like yes, you are not appreciated and you are not capable of being appreciated. So people start behaving in a particular way those people who are socially anxious. Another dimension of social interaction which I would like to discuss now is loneliness as the consequence of social isolation. So when people think that they will be rejected by other people, and when people think that they will be not receiving social approval from other people, and they are very sensitive to have rejection cues, उनको बड़ी जल्दी वो नोट भी कर लेते हैं, and then they behave in a particular manner that they start behaving differently to other people in social interactions, then they become lonely क्योंकि they start avoiding other people. The question is, what is loneliness? Loneliness is defined as having a smaller or less satisfying network of social and intimate relationships than we desire, and that was studied by Green et al. In 2001. जितना हमें नेटवर्क सोशल चाहिए होता है अपना, उससे हम जब हमें कम मिलता है तो हम लोनलीनेस का शिकार हो जाते हैं. एंड हियर आई वुड लाइक टू मेंशन दैट पीपल डिफर इन देयर नीड ऑफ सोशल इंटरेक्शन. उनको कितने दोस्त चाहिए होते हैं, दे आर डिफरेंट इन दैट. मे बी सम पीपल वुड हैव 2 friends, just 1 friend, and they would say I am completely happy with confiding in that particular friend, and some people would say I have just 5 friends. So it depends really on your personal need and your being introvert and extrovert. Numerous studies have identified the young adolescents and young adults as the loneliest age group, and that study was conducted by Peplow et al. In 1982. As people mature and they move beyond young adulthood years, they report less loneliness. और ये भी देखा गया है कि when people have they approach older years, तो उस वक्त भी loneliness ज़्यादा हो जाती है. तो क्या रीज़न है इन दोनों एज ग्रुप्स में लोनलीनेस ज़्यादा होने की? ज़्यादा रिसर्च तो यंगर ईयर्स पर हुई है, एंड दे शो दैट लोनलीनेस इज रिलेटेड विद यंगर ईयर्स. क्या वजह है? तो यंगर ईयर्स में व्हेन पीपल आर इन एडोलेसेंस एंड देन दे आर यंग adults, then they have numerous role transitions. एक तो adolescence में ये होता है कि they are falling in and out of romantic relationships, तो उससे भी प्रॉब्लम होती है मूड में. And then they are indecisive about many things, जिससे भी प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है. They cannot decide कि क्या उनके लिए सही है. They think about things several times, कभी एक के हक में फैसला, कभी दूसरे के हक में. And then when they are in young adulthood, then they are looking for permanent jobs, तो ये भी stress create करती है. And what about old age? When people are older, then it happens that they are frequently encountered with the deaths of their loved ones and then their health problems, and because of that they could be feeling more lonely. And research on men and women have indicated that men tend to feel lonely when deprived of group interactions. As compared to that, women are more likely to feel lonely when they lack one-to-one emotional sharing. So women and men are not different as far as degree of loneliness is concerned. They are maybe equal in loneliness, but they are different in the reasons of loneliness. Now I would like to discuss the relationship of social skills deficit and loneliness. It has been seen that chronically lonely people often think and behave in ways that reduce their likelihood of establishing new rewarding relationships. So जो chronically lonely people होते हैं, वो पहले भी हमने डिस्कस किया कि वो इनका एक खास अंदाज बन जाता है बिहेवियर का, जिससे they are unable to establish new relationships. And one study that was conducted on lonely college students, and that study showed that they rated themselves following laboratory interactions पहले उनकी हुई कुछ लोगों के साथ. So following laboratory interactions with other students, they rated themselves. और ये देखा गया कि जो lonely students थे, उन्होंने कुछ students के साथ पहले वक्त गुजारा. That is what I mean following laboratory interaction. और उसके बाद they perceived themselves as having being less friendly, less honest and open and less warm. And that study was conducted by Christensen and Keshe in 1998. यानी after having an interaction with people, तो उन्होंने अपने आप को रेट किया कि हमने कुछ अच्छी तरह से behave नहीं किया. And they also expect those who interact with them to perceive them in this negative manner. जब उनसे पूछा गया कि लोगों की राय आपके बारे में क्या होगी, तो उन्होंने कहा कि नहीं, वो हमें जो है वो negatively perceive करेंगे. So this showed that those people who are lonely, they have social skill deficit. और ये कैसे पैदा होता है? There is often a problem when we are looking at the cause and effect relationship कि क्या वजह बनी और कौन सी जो थी उसका effect था. Maybe these people were lonely, that is why they could not develop social skills, and maybe they were lacking in social skills, that is why they became lonely. So now let's review today's lecture. आज हमने क्या क्या पढ़ा? सबसे पहले जो है वो हमने डिस्कस किया कि what are the characteristics of others which are important in interpersonal attractions. पिछले लेक्चर में हमने ये पढ़ा था कि what are the characteristics of situation. तो आज हमने ये बात की कि characteristics of other people क्या होती हैं, what is in other people that make them more attractive. And then first of all we discussed that perhaps physical attractiveness is taking the leading role. बहुत ज़्यादा इसकी importance जो है वो लोगों में देखी गई है. और हमने ये देखा कि attractiveness है क्या? Attractiveness is having an average face in a culture, that is considered average in a culture, and that is a balanced face. और ये देखा गया कि physical attractiveness is related to other positive traits also, and that will be explained through implicit personality theory. और कि जो हम ये समझते हैं कि all the traits, positive or negative traits, go together. And then we also discussed that attractiveness has a link with different dimensions of job prospects, with hiring, with promotion, and then with salary also. And we also discussed the stereotypes that have been most prevalent for obese people. And we also talked about whether this is a stereotype or this is a fact that attractive people should possess positive traits. And the studies have found that this is actually a stereotype. It is not essential that attractive people would also be possessing more positive traits as compared to non-attractive people. And then we talked about similarity as another important factor in making one attractive to other persons. And first of all, we discussed similarity in demographic traits, then we discussed similarity in attitude, and finally we discussed again in physical attractiveness. And then at the end, we wanted to discuss whether people different in different desirable attributes will be more attractive or not. So we found out that people who are warm and competent, they are considered more attractive. और एक थोड़ी सी बात ये भी हुई कि social interaction जो है वो कब problematic हो जाता है. Social interaction becomes problematic when people are having social anxiety that they will be rejected by other people. And then we also talked about loneliness as the result of social isolation. So this was all about interpersonal attraction. इसकी एक journal activity और एक थोड़ी सी discussion about how it could be related with our practical life, ये हम अगली दफ़ा डिस्कस करेंगे. And in the next lecture we will starting a new topic, and that is intimate relations, that is in a way related with interpersonal attraction. अगले lecture तक के लिए खुदा हाफिज़.